Hello, I'm Sally, and I would like to show you how I sew the bottom into a tube easily without having a whole lot of fight. It ends up looking like this before I trim the circle. So I don't trim the circle before I put it into the tube. So here's what we do. The first thing you're going to do is mark your tube into eighths, quarter it, and then quarter those quarters. So you have 8 markings. Likewise, you're going to mark the center of your fabric. Draw a square, straight lines. So you have X on your fabric, either straight. I do it straight first. So I have my glasses on so I can see. Let me see if I can zoom in better so you can see better what I'm doing. Okay. Using a wash away pen. So what you're going to do is draw a straight line across, first of all, and then making sure you line up with your ruler here. And really, does it have to be straight halfway across your fabric? No, not necessarily. It just needs to be perpendicular, which means this line needs to line up straight with the line that you just drew. So line it up straight here and draw another line. So you see how there were 2 lines. Probably see it better on this. So there were a line here and a line there. Okay? Now you need to draw 45-degree lines to that. Now make sure you have a 45-degree line. It'll say on your ruler 45 degrees here. So we need to take this 45-degree line and line it up with the edge of our fabric, just like this. So once we line the edge of our fabric up with that, and then run the edge of our ruler right through the center, the point where these 2 lines intersect. So now we have one 45-degree line, and then we do the same thing over here with the bottom, where we line the 45-degree line up here with the bottom, and we're going to run that through the center, the dot where those 2 lines intersect here. So now you have 45 degrees. So 45 degrees, all those are 45 degrees. So 8 45-degree points here. So all of these 45 degrees line up here, are going to line up here at the bottom. The other thing I do is I might make this line a little heavier so I can definitely see, because this is my seam line. So this is where I'm going to line up the edge of my tube. So the tube is, and this doesn't matter because I'm going to cut this off. I sewed this with my circular attachment. There's all sorts of different ways you can sew a circle. You might have a sew steady table with circles and straights that you have, so you can sew a circle. You might have a circular attachment from Foffer Viking. However you can make a circle, you make a circle, draw a circle, trace a circle, but you want to draw your circle, and this is not where your seam line is, this is the outside edge of your circle where you would have normally cut this, but do not cut this yet. So now I'm going to change camera views. So this is where we're going to attach the top to the bottom. And when you turn it, it's going to look like this. It's going to come out perfectly like this without any trouble. Because normally you're going to have to, normally for this you're going to have had to pin this with a whole bunch of pins, and it's going to be a lot of fight. And this is not a whole lot of fight. Alright, you always want to work with needle down, so that gives you an extra hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at, I'm going to pin one of these points. So these are all points that you match up, which you would normally pin all of them if you had a circle that you had cut. But I am going to pin this down here. Probably could have pressed this. So you see I'm just going to point this open. And see how I am just lining the edge of this tube up with my stitching, where I stitched my, or drew my circle. And that's just where this is going to match up. And then my seam allowance is 1/4 inch from that point. I want the end of that pin to be working from that. So I've got a 1/4 inch foot on here, and I am just going to set the needle in the fabric with my 1/4 inch foot at the edge of this. Well, it would help if I had the needle, sure that you've threaded the needle. It's always better if you do that. Pull your thread underneath your foot. I'm using black thread because you can see it better. Alright, so I've taken a couple of stitches, and all I'm going to do now is I am just going to guide this fabric right along this, the edge of the fabric. So this is just like if this is where I would have cut my circle. So this is matching, so that's my cut edge. My not so cut edge, but my soon to be cut edge once I've sewn this together. So you just guide this along ever so easily. This is where the edge of the fabric goes. Just right that where that edge is. So you take your time, just ease the fabric in. So if you want to match these quarters up with the quarters that you made on the tube and the bottom are what match up. So here's the next one, so you might wanna match that up and then slowly, do they have to be exact? No, probably not exact. If I didn't make my tube exactly the right size, or if I didn't make my circle exactly, but see here, this one is matching up nicely. And if you wanna use a stiletto, you can use a stiletto to help you hold it in the right place. But see, this is right here, and I'm just guiding this edge right here, right along, and I'm just following this 1/4 inch seam line. Okay, so we're just guiding it right along. I'm not fighting with that under circle like I would be if I had trimmed this circle out, because otherwise I would have had to have this all pinned and the lower circle would be fighting me, because you know how they are. So here's the next 1/4, matching up perfectly. Here's the next 1/4, matching up. See, normally I get a whole bunch of little nips and tucks, and I get a lot of little gathers at the bottom of my buckets.
I have like a card and it was given to me.
So this just keeps this circle flat. You still have the bias in here, but you don't have as much bias. So this is matching up, these are matching up really nicely. How nice of it to be cooperative when I'm doing this. If you have a lot of weight here, if you put, I didn't run the interfacing down into the seam allowance, but you could trim it. It would fit better if I had trimmed it, not, clipped it. Put little clips in here so it wouldn't be curving up. So especially if you put heavy like Timtex or something like that here, clip little clips every 1/16 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch or however much you can stand doing the little clips. And just kind of come along here, straighten out your tube to keep this a little straight so you get a nice, so it's not, you're not getting any, so it's nice and smooth. Just straighten your tube out at the top. And we're coming around to, I'm gonna take my pin out because that's, ouch, that hurt, in case you're wondering. No blood on the project though. And you have right sides together, your tube is inside out, and we marked our markings on the outside of. Okay. Almost around to the beginning. There we are. All the way around to the front. So you can see that this bottom is all nice and smooth. So in the circle there is no things. And around here likewise, nice and smooth. So then all we do is cut it right here on our circles that we drew. Turn it right side out and look at the edge on this. All right, so you can see how smooth an edge you get. And then we just cut it, that's where we cut the circle out. But you would normally have cut it out and then sewed it. Sew it first, and then cut it out. What do you think?